over to meistoina ogyoks takatvuksi yakita paatu itsikatu paamu. Our next session.
Okay. Nitaiskutuk muksi ni 6. My brothers have asked me to introduce the subject and who they are. Takisto. Kika. One of the things that they want to talk about is we hear about the different communities throughout the blood reserve and maybe other areas too. But we've heard about in the last one of the last gatherings of Niitsipowahsin, Nixina Harriet, and they've talked about Mixi Umkinapuists in Moses Lake. And we're hearing some real stories why it's called Moses Lake. But that was old stories. Martin Eagle Child was one of the initial lifetime council members for the Blood Tribe when they introduced the council system for our leadership in the days. And Gilbert Eagle Bear has also served on council too. But they bring to you the history of Standoff. They're going to talk about Standoff. See, States go. The States go. Okay, so we're going to talk about the history of Standoff. And just like we did with Moses Lake, we identify some of the original residents. And they'll give you a little background on how these communities were established, mostly for our elders. So we'll start with our elder, Martin.
Okay, matapiok. Ito ko na etsimachim po. Idaisapuki chipo. Okay. Nita pinaake chipo yo. Very important to speak your language. Very important. Nita pina kakitstapinska simsi. To have a native name. Why it's important. The elders, when you go to a ceremony, mikakitstapuna tuapi. Badakaniya sa, oh, here comes Martin. Akaniya, umakok misamakkuin. That's what I want to be addressed by my native name, especially ceremonies. And I was strictly Catholic. My family was strictly Catholic. There was 11 of us in the family, my mom and dad. They never joined the holy societies, not to our beach. So when my wife asked me first, let's take that pipe. Ako no, she said, I don't really know about it. I've seen the ceremonies. Itani, why are you going to learn? I told him, let me think about it. And the third time, that's when I said yes. And I'm glad nitanisini aku chip ni akuin ni man. Nita pina akitsin so si muchi natua pitch. To join the holy society, that will change your life. And it really changed my life. I was an alcoholic, and they told me to quit. So I matatashim. And the hardest part that I had to do, I had to give up my 15 girlfriends. Now I'm bragging. Some were crying and some were trying to commit suicide because I gave them up. Anya, nita pina, kinita nuka, uta mata pepoksi. Da konita to, da konita amuchi na doa beach. Ei stu kai nemskapits. Takat tu akukats. Amuts. Amunina. Such port. Mr. Weatherwax. Port. Port. I am proud of this man. And I'm also very proud of his dad. He speaks good Blackfoot. And he was a war hero. So when I see that man, I feel good. I feel good. And he belongs to the Nikkei horns, and he has a medicine pipe. He belongs to those. That's really good. And that's why I tell these young people, they tell me, "Titowanikya, taguchikispa, dansta, watuspumsta, go and help, and you'll start learning. Kekitumatapokchistapi, takieginamatapistini. Niitsitapi, penita, piitsitapi, patapisin." And it's not Pequats, these white people. I tell them how we lived our lives years ago. We live a very good, clean life. I told them, there was no alcohol and drugs. And we lived all together. We shared everything. Pina muhnitsita pi päätäpiisin. Päätäpiisksikaki. Eikin mutsik. Be kind to each other. It really bothers me when I hear, "Hey, where's your brother?" I'm not talking to my brother who had a big fight. I'm not talking to my sister who had a big fight. That's not the way to live. We didn't live like that. So it's very important how you live your life. And I always try to live a good life. I'm not perfect. Nobody is perfect. And now I'm going to talk about the true standoffers. Amuche, Tachikitapia. I know where they live. Some have gone. And I know their Indian names, everybody, but some I'm forgetting. But I'll try and remember that. We're going to have a map. I told that to Arnold. We're going to have a map, and we'll have a tape recorder, and the names and their native names after this, later on. So I'm going to start talking about the ones that I know, the true standoffers. Just east of the school, may tupi payochina, Alfred Blood. Big Cecil. That one, he's got a name and I don't remember it. Oh, Sichikakuan. In 80 shouting, Amo Matsitupi, Payo. Ed Healy, my brother-in-law, and I know him as Taushi, but he had a native name. And just 3 person lived there after. And my nephews, they all live around there. Nitokonopi. And that's where my mother, we lived there. Ansta Pukaki, Fanny Eaglecha. And just north of there, Willie Mills lived there. Sika Mumaka, Aya Kukinai's wife. And on that side, Jack Black Forehead. Jack Black Forehead. This is Jack Black Forehead, his native name. Okay. Kenike Wayne Plume. Ninanis ko pitami. Wayne Plume. Tekanis. Matayo. Vatsasakaks. Kenike amo ka kutto. Ja kutto. Bob platted here. George Mini Bears amo matkapist sopi. I'm that snipanistaki. O kenike ume tupi Bill Rabbit. Matistay namaka. O un ame tukitopia. Understand Nelson Rabbit is natuya pikun. Inutukiman matis na pikasimin. And mimista pochi et heavy seal agohkitopio. Kiumi matista pochi makui sookstaksina. Joe Tea Party. Kika aamu maalest mä tatsoat sohsa kika. Ame taku tsipui mu tatsikiitapi. Mu pamuhtsi. Across the river there was a store. Ansta asinapui. That talks Cree. Utkiman ansteinin Piksaki. Okay. It's not there anymore. Jack Foot, he was the farming instructor. And my uncle came after and he lived there, Charlie Blood. And he had the first Indian store there. And he had the first Indian band there, Western band. And they sing there and they used to sing. I always remember that on the American Hotel. And you, Mr. Pupi, is Chikunistiu, Morris Prairie Hen. Mr. Pupi, George Vial, Inakyuchchochi. Okay, you, Mr. Pupi, Nita Pakyu, good rider. Chinichi, Chinichi. Okay. Gamu Kina, Guy Wolf Cha. Yes, Yoxinesi. Okay. Amu Tapuchi, Harry Big Throat. Not to up you. No, not to up you. Oh, Payo. Okay, Milk, Peanut, Philip Aberdeen. Because it's not peanut, it's the beans, okay, Uchis, her mother, against Simaki. Amuche no kanisinoya amuche. Maybe I'm missing some people. Oh, Kika. Anime itupi imitomo ichiwa. Oh, Burn It Rabbit. Then what is the beans, guys? Oh, Minnie, Kitsima. Thank you, Minnie. And it's okay. So, amuche no kanisinoya amuche okay ni just ni standoff. These are the true standoffers. Amuche. Okay, mo niskan. Amo kuchipuye amuche uhtapstispo. Okay, ma gaitis chipu. Okay, sa may nakita ko mo office.
Na Gilbert ansta Apatohsipikani.
Tesukani napi koexma ni sa ikaisai. What I'm going to talk about, why I'm this community, you've got all the names on it. It's 1954. Prior to that, and for those of you that are not aware of it, Niitsipowahsin was the first boarding school and a Catholic church and Indian agent, someplace. Underestimates 1953, from Manitoba to Alberta, it's day schools. Standoff Day School. It's a go 1953. What? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay. Looks in the sky, it's not Pashto Kamatsu. 1953. There was 2 classrooms. On this classroom, there was 30 of us. I think it was 12 years old. And it's 6 years old. From 7 to 6, they were put in kindergartens. There was 14 of us were promoted or got promoted to grade 1. The next classroom, there were grade 2 to 4. Our teachers were named Mr. and Mrs. McNeil. And I'll just tell you one little story. Isabel Whiteman. Rosie Ekkamini. And Rosie Itzikkamini. So Isabel, Mrs. McNeil, Rosie, quick die. Matas knipinan to say faint, and that's the beginning of Matab. And I always think about today, how did that Mrs. McNeil taught us? None of us spoke English, but he taught us. Okay, some of you have got this paper. I'll start from there. The one that's written in pencil. That's when that school was open. Now my dad, Dynasty Reagan, okay. Is it working? Okay. Go ahead. So our house, right now it's by my house, was the first house built. Now Ninna, me kaninimai, Bocap, Apatohsipikani, and his cousin Jim First Charger, they built that house in 54. And shortly after that, and you see those 10 houses, Western Ituchiptu. And the last one house to build is not Jim Red Crow and his wife in 56. George Blackface and Edward Chaumi to Tamiopia. When the Standoff Day School, they moved right by the church. So Anixki topics. And the one thing I can say, Nita pitama pienska kaita piskuis. Iksimaka psi ia pinaka simix, and most of them Occupistai. Akutakisia akutai, and we share that. And it does chinach pinna. Now always remember and we stop up here. Nachsa otokina. Nim existi kai aitsuniku esoku esto insaki pit kokona grogit staks na pino. We shared everything. And the other thing in there I need to tell you is that there was 2 guys, Anamnisa, Sonny Mills, Andrew Mills, and Attuna, Tony Blackwater, Testis Tutuanan, and I Kugo Sichita Paskukin. That was the community. And the other one is Amo Apuyawa and Pastam, Albert. That's where they go to tell stories. And I remember in them taka Morris via so we crawl under the bed. That's how I wish that community and much of the sheep asked me all that. Now my dad asked me, but I used to poo when he's sober, that's good too. So this is the community that I remember. It was a good community. So, ukiumi tahtu matapu ta tapuan. Nochanis kenochpa annam kipitaki nachka Dwayne. Tanista chanista annam kaachsa. He tani uchapi inskasim wind don't blow. Anista keka machi tapi. Okini otan married little man rider Niitsipowahsin. Kennekok, Mary Blackwater. I'll think of his name. I'll think of Niitsipowahsin. Kennikiko Tamopia, Chris and Cecile Bullshields. Anistawanum Kina Otukina. Kiniotukiman Simikanistan, Cecine. Kenneko spoke Yopi Nachsa, Jim Knife and Maud Knife. Kennem Nachsa Anista Onistan Knife. Kiniotukiman Anistan Nyokskakamo Sak. O Kenneko spoke Yopi Albert and Paula Vial. Anistawanam Albert Pastam. O Kiniotukiman Anistan Eshisti. Kiamu, the next one, I have to put this earphone. I can't remember their names, but I've got it recorded. Technology.
These houses were built on top of the standoff area.
Amnam West in Itochiptumas, they weren't built there, they were brought. Kiamuk, the next one is Wallace and Mary Vial, cross-feathered wings. Anista nam Wallace Pitakusi. Understand Misami Peak Sak. Yeah, I got it. So, and the next ones is Billy Crosschild and Annie Many Bears. And I'm Billy Crosschild, understand Punchi. Understand Paipi. O Kennako spoke Yopi, Fair Brown, Annie Chief Cap. And I'm Kinanista Apoyai. Ginotkiman Makashimi. O Kennako, Frank and Annie Cotton. Frank Anista Ikasta Putana Machka. O Knotkiman Anistane Achu Chikamu Sak. O Kennako, George and Maud Blackface, Anista Pitakusi, O Knotkiman Anistan Sikapinak, O Kennako at Wolfchild and his wife is PP. Anista ni taxis toani. O Kinio Trimanikohanis Skinan Anistan PP. O Kennako Ganista Bota Myopia, Flora Creighton Ansta P. O Kioxragit Skitapo to say, Na Ninna can exista Mike and Angeline Eaglebear. Na Ninna Ansta Pitokayo. Negohits Knego Ansta Mike. Can exista Ansta Tanataki. O Kenneko Jim and Rosie Red Crow. Ni Takish Chipimi Kitchinak. Kiamo Stapupi Manohajitu just to chill Jim Whiteman, not to Aputas. And this is the one I couldn't find. Amy Longtime Squirrel. And I couldn't get his, that was Oko 6, but I'll get it when we do the map and I'll get it. Pat Wolf, Crappie Wolf, Ruth Wings. Kystyäänistä mais tuhki tupi. Kinu tuhiman what's his name? Misami Piikani. Kennekoki tupi Aloysius Crappie Wolf, Aloysius and Teresa Crappie Wolf. Nitskina no machina to was Akotas. Kinyo kist when I know is Apuyaki. Kenniko Kuram lived, my grandfather lived, Johnny Pace, Pitawastam. And there's one more niece, Majijin Sinas, most important. When these houses were built, down below, they built 2 houses, one for the interpreter and for one Einaki Kuat. And Kiumi interpreter is Nanisa Padigucha Pitapuka. Kennekok, Rufus Good Striker. Uninstansa Namaki, Kusnegansta Xina Pakstok. And they had a son. Thinking of that name. I'm trying to think of, they had a son named, I'm trying to think of your Indian name, that was his name. So those are the people that lived there. These are the ones I knew. And the thing about it, I think about it today, that was a community. It's not like this one over here. Last time I heard there's about 10 or 11 homicides, and there's about 15 drug dealers. Over there was a community. Kunaikimutsi, Aukisawatsia, Aichinikutia, Gestinachkutia. That's the community I grew up. And sometimes I wish I could go back to that community. Thank you.
So, okay, idamik sistiko, nastuako kidumi dotu. My name is Lisa Croce. I'm the superintendent at Pegian Board of Education. My Blackfoot name is first one there. And I always say, for those of you that have been teachers, my name suits me because I'm very timely. I'm never late. I take my breaks as I need to. So my world of teaching really suited my name well. First of all, I always want to thank our elders. So I thank Leroy for giving us our prayer this morning. It's always nice to have somebody bless our activities, and all the really nice to see our young people, Ayana and Chaz. I've seen them before at conferences. So just wanted to thank everyone that gives us that kind of information. But I do want to go into our presentation. Just like a doctor, we want this to be short and painless so that we can have our evening started. So just wanted to start. I'm going to ask each of our presenters to go ahead and introduce themselves, starting to my right.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Nistuako Pito Minaki. I am Jocelyn Smith. I am the post-secondary coordinator from the Pegian Board of Education.
Okay, Nisto Nitaniko Istukimiaki. My name is Lorraine. I'm the Blackfoot coordinator / instructor for junior high at Pegian.
Okay, Nistu Akok Mike Stu. My name is Billy Yellowhorn. I'm the librarian and Blackfoot language instructor for Napi's Playground Elementary School and Piikani Nation Secondary School.
Okay, nisto ko kay Manisin na ipistaki. Kay Nijins Kasim Aileen Bastine. I'm the grandma at the school for elementary, K4 to grade 12, grade 6. Again.
Okay, nisto ako sipista pinaki Jacqueline Big Bull, nideskinimatsan nan junior high grade 7 to grade 9.
I damstatikatistikko distuoki naksipitaki. Joanne Yellowhorn, the Destiny Maite Niitsipowahsin K4 to grade 6 me Napis Playground Elementary in Piikani. Gendai.
So thank you. I just wanted to say that this is our language working group. Our language working group gets together every Monday, and whatever we're working on, the language lessons we do, we roll them out into the school. So I look after all of this education programs from K to 12. I'll also say thank you to my assistant, who is Ramona Bighead, joined me this year and helps me do a lot of the work within the schools. Jocelyn Smith is the post-secondary coordinator, so anything that has to do with adult language learning, she looks after, but we are the two leads for language learning within the organization. So I'm going to hand it over to Jocelyn.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. So I'm just going to go through this PowerPoint presentation that we have created here for you. Okay, so we are Piikani. We are one of the tribes who make up the Blackfoot Confederacy, which of course is Siksika, Kainai, Skapi, Piikani, and Piikani. We are speakers of the Blackfoot language and knowledge keepers of our Blackfoot culture, history, governance, and ceremonial practices. Piikani Sini. It is through Piikani Sini, the language and knowledge of Piikani people, that we instill our cultural values of sacred ceremony, membership in society, kinship protocols, and name giving. Through Piikani Sini, we promote our traditional customs through songs, dance, and games. As Piikani, we are unique and distinct in our beliefs and interactions with others in this world. So we provide support to Piikani language and culture initiatives. The intent of the Pegian Board of Education Society is to initiate a Piikani language program to begin revitalizing our Piikani language, to minimize language loss, to encourage and promote language maintenance and recovery, and to develop knowledge and strategies for language revitalization with the assistance of Piikani Nation elders and speakers. Research indicates that fluent or master speakers and elders of an indigenous language may not necessarily possess the skills required to teach the language. This is a key component of our projects. Elders and master speakers will gain the linguistic skill and knowledge to teach the language. Our 10-year Piikani language revitalization plan is to achieve the long-term goals set forth by our community to reestablish, number one, introductory and intermediate language fluency, intergenerational diffusion of Blackfoot language and traditional ways of knowing, encouraging environments in the Piikani community from home to school to community where Blackfoot language is embedded and infused in all aspects of life. Piikani elder guidance and support. In June of 2016, 30 Piikani elders came together to provide cultural knowledge to PBOES 10-year language revitalization activities and Piikani Batapisin. Piikani elders focused on 27 of the most relevant values that should be taught to our children, our youth, and adults through language and culture programs. So we broke those up into 3 different areas. Number 1 was the schools, which are Piikani Nation Secondary School and Napi's Playground Elementary School. So in this area, we reviewed the Blackfoot language curriculum, that Blackfoot language curriculum, we also provided, we developed a different kind of curriculum. We created language learning kits for K4 and K5. We have language nests where there's a grandmother it is a grandmother in residence program, and the number of hours per student is 235 over the school year. The second area that we looked at is post-secondary education. So we have Blackfoot language courses, and we broker those from the University of Lethbridge as well as Lethbridge College. We have community language sessions, which are open to all community members, as well as our staff. We have, from the University of Alberta, the Indigenous Language Teacher Development Programs and Certificate. We also utilize CILDI, which is the Canadian Indigenous Languages and Literacy Development Institute, and this is one of the key programs that we continuously have in our community. And in post-secondary, the number of hours per student is 2,412 per academic year. So the last area is the PBOES board administration. So we have had 2 Piikani language symposiums in our community. We, in 2018, we did the SILS, which was the Stabilizing Indigenous Language Symposium Conference. That was just held this last couple of weeks in Victoria. We co-hosted this with the University of Lethbridge. We also have summer youth immersion camps. And in these immersion camps, the number of hours per participant in the language is 180 hours per session. Okay, thank you.
So one of the things that Jocelyn mentioned was that we have in our language nests part of what we call a grandmother's program. From what we understand, it's very unique to Piikani. And I wanted to ask Aileen Bastine if she could speak to that. Aileen, if you could come up and say a few words. Aileen is our grandmother. She works alongside Joanne Yellowhorn, who is our K-6 instructor, and Billy Yellowhorn as well. So Aileen, I'll give you the floor.
I need a step stool. Okay. Ki anakama kikwan nitan. Anka imatats to have a grandmother in the classroom. That's from K4 to grade 6 elementary. It's different from an elder coming in. A grandma stays in, all through the Blackfoot students that come into classes. The grandma stays in there. I myself have experienced how how important, I guess, but the need to have a grandmother in a classroom. All grades. We're just starting now for elementary, then we're going to go into the junior and senior high, same thing. And it helps the students too. It helps them to comprehend too. And in the classroom, we have our Blackfoot room. Bukak sa kano pimiao. Kita kana iksuupia, ito takupia, iteksuupia. Kilisto na tawan sanan, aki kwek sa amos tapupik, sa kumapik sa amos tapupik. And of course, You're just a grandma in there. But you, as a grandma, you have to discipline too. But I can see my book, especially the little ones. But excopi wax. So kung understanding kay, minat discuss it. No kids po pikak. Isti kak. But yet ustua. Ni tajuhtuessa kaneksikosi ni tajuhtuessa ni teitsi pois doch kanootista piituukia. Ni eetsatipseteenike. Kenan oma tohka puka puta kima jawan uso eskani ma chiwax. Kinisiki sida kita ni kakuna kitsini kusa. Kennen itap suka piaka akita it's eskani ma chaki ki akita itsini kusa. To the theme of Omi Gilbert people to the theme, they comprehend more. And another thing I just have to add on to miakiaporti, ikakata people kimatapsia. Nokato tomoya uksistoaksi, kitaukanaumeoti siputoya. Kikeki matapsia sikise ayapisa sukanya. Oh grandma, they'll all come and hug me and kiss me and they'll or want to sit on me, they fight over me. And that is good for them. And it works both ways for me too, as well as them. And I think that is the best thing that we've ever had in the school is to have a grandma in the classroom. And Stootista piitakia. Aksikakas eitsitä piisitsipsataya. Blackfoot immersion. Then ken sanan nanistes tepoispe. Ken kinakanis kut itsini kohpuawak. Takito may sami poya. Kana magsiaks estaya nokat makukatsi poisa. Ken.
Yeah, she really is grandma. The children often see Aileen in the community and refer to her as grandma. And she talked about the struggles and challenges our communities have. Lots of these young people don't have grandparents, so she acts like that. And what happens between her and Joanne in their classroom is there's constant conversation, communication happening back and forth. She's a full-time employee with Pegian Board of Education. She's not seen as an elder. She's seen as grandma coming into the school. And so she's there, 8 o'clock in the morning, leaves at 3:30 with everybody else, goes to PD. So she's seen as that person. But the ability for our language teacher, our language instructor, to have somebody to talk to all the time in the classroom, and children are just picking it up. The other thing I'll say is that we laugh about this, but we're not ashamed to say that we beg, borrow, and steal any language activities that we think are going to help our K-12 system and then our adult education. So we have borrowed that grandmothers. That's not new. That really has come from the Maoris and the Hawaiians. That's not a new concept. We've also gone into 20-minute immersion in every single class that we have. They cannot go out of the language. The students are in the language for 20 minutes. So out of a 45-minute junior high class, 20 minutes has to be in the language to start with. Same with, a challenge for them to keep 4 and 5-year-olds in that language in our language for 20 minutes. So it's been a challenge to have that. And we borrowed that from one of the Cree language programs that we had gone to visit. So for us, it's like we pick all these things. We also, a number of years ago went into the Cree community. I'll just say that's probably the first time I heard Robert Hall speak, but we borrowed their language literacy kits. Every K4 and K5 student in our organization is given a language literacy kit at the end of the school year to go home with, and it has to be at least 50% Blackfoot language. The other part is we can bring books in and things like that, but staying in the language, gifting it, starting their home libraries, so we're doing that right now. So the next part of it is once we started and we got that directive, as Jocelyn said, from our elders, we brought 30 elders together and they told us as the leads, you need to change what you're doing in your school. You're not producing speakers. And we asked them how, and they said, well, you're not teaching anything that's valuable. So you have to go back and look at what do we as our Piikani elders, what do we think is important, and they started listing off at least 27 values to us. So we had to step back away from it, look at that list that they gave us, look at the program of studies that Alberta has, and we stepped back and we just said, the program of studies as it sits is not working for us. We need to change it. We need to kind of tweak it to be be for our children. So in doing that, we have begun and we're almost finished our new curriculum. And with our new curriculum, it's based on what our elders told us. Keep in mind, we had COVID in there, so we basically stopped working with our elders during COVID. And so, out of that 5 years, 7 years, we had to take a pause on this and we started again. So I'm going to have each of the divisional leaders. So we have people that come in and, because some of us are trained with that SILD or in linguistics programs, that we could do all the typing, right? We know how to write the words and things, but our elders are the ones that come and sit with us. So in doing that, I'm going to ask Billy and Aileen if they could come up and talk about the Division 1 units that are new.
Okay. It's good to be back. This multi-purpose used to be my home at one time when I was the librarian up there. And Piikani captured me back home. So I'm really proud to be a part of these language units. Because when I took the SILD program, I've taken many Blackfoot courses. We learned the Donald Frantz way of writing, plus being married to a fluent speaker. It's really helped me along the way to learn how to write the Blackfoot language and also how to ask the right questions when working with elders. So I would say I'm a lifelong learner. I've been a part of this now 4 years, and the elder I worked with was Aileen Bastine, and we put together the units that we could. So they go straight across the top, as you can see, for Unit 1. So that'll start from kindergarten and K4, K5, and they progress each year as they go up. So that would be like Blackfoot sounds, right? Okay, so we do the Blackfoot sounds, and they practice it and practice it. They learn how to put it into phrases. Joanne helps us along with our lesson plans to help critique them so they flow smoothly each day. And Aileen really helps me to do the correct pronunciations. So that way I'm not making any mistakes. Hey, so like the IH, where we use the top of our mouth and top of our tongue, pushing our teeth to make the correct, like Isabatapiop, right? So I'm still learning, I'm a constant learner. So we do vowel sounds like, I'll let Aileen do a few of them. So there's like AO, which is 2 vowel sounds side by side for.
Yeah.
For like Atko and Atsi. Or I
Well,
always say.
just like AOs, just like the color, Atkuinachi AO, Oi would be like in or Noi, like number 6, Noi. And then we have I is like in the Blackfoot word meanie. So, and then we teach them, the alphabets, the 12 alphabets that we use, and like the apostrophes, which is your glottal, and with OH is oh, AH, IH is, and your tongue goes up. So all these things that we teach, we teach them the sounds and the double vowels, we teach them that. And now, like from September to now, June, grade twos can read out the colors. Seksi mo koinatsi, they read them out. And it's just surprising to hear. And those are our rewards, from teaching them. And yet grade twos are able to read the Blackfoot, even numbers too, and numbers or words that Joanne will put up, and they'll read those. They'll read them out now, whereas they couldn't, of course, but now they do, and so it's just those are our rewards.
Thank you and have a good day. Kikeramat.
So thank you, Billy and Aileen. I wanted to call up Joanne and Jacqueline. So idam sa tikatis tiko ni sto Occupants kina topoka po takima sipista pinaki. Nisto na nitsi Division 2, grade 4 to grade 6. Ani se no ti it's isine pinandako nista sinima tachsinan. Gi nan natitapi kitapi sto poka po takiman. Ani se te taspo mo kinan. So amo kamit sa miniki. The first one is we review all the sounds, the grammar, and the structure of the language, and that takes about 3 weeks to learn, the Don France system of writing and all the sounds. And so once they've learned the sounds, like what Aileen and Billy mentioned, then we move on. So that way, we want them to be able to say the words properly. Because sometimes you say the wrong thing or wrong pronunciation, the word changes. So that takes about 3 weeks. And then we talk about oxys, our foods. And then the kanaka seats. This is a new unit we're talking about. It's kanaka seats, and then kitsinixis. Our stories of the land, and the last unit is in Xiski Pescanis. Those are our units. So we have lesson plans for each unit. And as they go from grade 4, we add a little bit more to grade 5 and a little bit more to grade 6. So this is basically what we're doing in Division 2. So I'm going to turn it over to Jacqueline.
Well, agitsi na nistuani taskini mats aksamuhkan. Grade 7, 8, and 9. Na Lorraine tohpokskini matsutsima. But musisia kutu pinanya from Nixum kitapiksi nituani despumu kinanya titani kinanyas gaksinimatsawa the values, because just a vocabulary of buksapod that's a little added on to Kiamk. And it's me and Lorraine, it's just all Blackfoot. Mataya people's pinana. Nistua mutaka nitaka of books knimatsu tsima. Kinixi pukaxi tajuhtuu kinnaan ja eitsikami I Standoff maksi saakutista piitsi saunan steitsi ni teitsi pujupi. Sonna siikaakin matannaan ja nakoksupujaapskini maatsaksinaan. One of them ni taakan niksi kinistua ni tuhkita piispinaan Occupants ni taapuutu tamaapiu. Kiumissa mituhkane ituhtupinaan Occupants ni sitä explain what man stapanispi ki akumimstaan and resilience ikita piisen aamuskayi ni diskriminaatsan jau in every day in a piisaw niitä desukanstannan kia kinuhkaskriminaatsuhpinnaan mnattatsiskaasit Occupants kiamuskan staapaspi kaneksikusi kiam viibin matpaskini maatsanaan ja how do you say medicine saamisti is the last of Occupants ikskeinatsi sentences phrases nanstiskini maatsahpinan kiamu matsasin sahtuupinan kitaka Occupants tuup saamisti aamuska makaapsaamisti kiamusko minukuisi kitowatuupuawasti aamusk sudamkanawani kinan nistunna numkitapi kimiksi nitumkitapi minaniksi anniskai kidakskini maatsawai akitskini miau resiliency all that is all included. And when we first begin nitaksine pumi nitaksine maatsahpinani mi mattasinakiyau, and at the end of every unit it's all extended from K4 K5 and right to the top and nohmatsinaksine maatsai junior or senior high and all that samita pi uhkstatanani puukaiksi makuhkohtista piitsi sanita ni kistunnun kipäätä piisinnun TPR matteensksti pinnan everything ni nuhkstatu pinnanisti kukuusinnunisti makuhtaajuhtsimspiau ikuka piu aus makaapsaamisti utestutsi puavaa en nuhksisti kui kenniskaini nuhtee siimannaan jau Smita puututa maapi kitsisitä piipäätä piisinnun. Kenjäni taakana ne matteens kuhtumuana näkitsaisksinimiä maamus niitsipuuksen. Ni tässä muhkun matapinskisiip. Makuhtisutista piitsiisau kitsisipuuksinnun. Ken...
I said she just started taking our next session, so I was laughing at her. They were telling me to get a cane out, but I couldn't. She's our elder. So this is the work, and again, when we work in our language working groups, Lorraine and I work on grades 7, 8, 9 together, and so when we work, we sit there with two elders, and they help us. Lorraine is a fluent Blackfoot speaker. I am not. So what I do is I do all the data entry and data taking. This you'll notice at the start of each grade, they are going and reviewing all the sounds, all their grammar rules, and all the structures. This Unit 1 is consistent across every grade. They do it for the first 2 to 3 weeks of each school year, and they're really learning how to make our Blackfoot sounds. How are you breathing when you make sounds? Where is your tongue placement? Where are your teeth placed? Where are you holding, words? Where are you stopping words? And so for us, that if students don't know that yet, that's the most important thing for them to know, how to put all those morphemes that Robert was talking about earlier, to put them all together to create some very long words and phrases that we have. And you'll also notice for us, traditional foods is in there as well. And then it becomes progressively more advanced as it hits each grade. So I'll look at Unit 3 that starts with decision making. It goes into treaty making and leadership, decision making, which is peacemaking the next year, and then wisdom. What wisdom do you gain out of those things? Going across, and you're going to see Unit 8 today. We're going to show you the lessons that was created. So love of self. You know, you have to love yourself, especially when you're a junior high student, because that's a real tumultuous time for them. How do you love family? What do you say when you love family? And how do you express that you love your world? Tsahkum and all the ceremony we have. How do you express that you love those things around you? So for us, the continuity in planning these year after year was important, so that when they're in junior high, they know that next year, if there's things I need to work on, I'm going to see it next year. And we just keep, as Jacqueline was saying, we keep building. I'll say one of the things, and she stole Lorraine's thunder. No, because Lorraine was going to talk about how we go and we addressed the drug crisis in our community by doing that unit called Apatohsipikani. And part of it is you watch where you're going, watch who your friends are, watch which vehicle you're getting into, watch the medicine that you're taking, good and bad, and you always be careful of who's around you. These were simple phrases that every student in the school was taught. And so at the same time allowing our staff to teach those things that they needed to know as they go back into our community. So I'll give the floor to Lorraine.
Okay, Niitsipowahsin. I really have nothing to say because they both took everything. No, one of the things, like with values, and this year, and I really have to say I'm really proud of my junior high, and you'll know why. For me, I took that prayer, Atsimuiskan, and every day before class, we've separated the girls from the boys, and every day before we start our class, and our class is in the afternoon, we say the prayer. And I walk through listening to them, and if I don't hear one side saying, I have them repeat it over again. And I think Atsimuiskan, and with all of us, we all understand that. And we're always saying, Atsimuiskan. But really, what does it mean? So in the class, and it goes in with all the values that we're teaching in every unit. I just lost my thought, but it's in there. And wanting to teach these students about Atsimuiskan, so we have them saying that prayer every day. And for Christmas, our elders in the community, when they had their meal, Ispumotsin was one of the units. We went to the elder center, and our children served the elders their meal and said a prayer for them. And the other thing that we did, we had in our our Senate meeting, I invited our students to come in and say the prayer for the elders. And you felt it. They were just in sync with each other. And when they were done, for me, when the elders all went, hey, and they all made the sign and put it to their heart, I really felt good. And the radio station, Carl Blood, was at that particular meeting. He came back to me and he said, I want to record your students saying the prayer So we went there 2 weeks ago, and now those students, their prayer, at 6 o'clock in the morning, when the radio's turned on, they say that prayer. And that's why I am really proud of them, because with that prayer and them understanding that prayer and about gimapipitsin, ispumutsin, you know, all those values. And I always tell them, when the elders are sitting and you hear an elder praying, you're gonna hear those words in their prayer, and you'll know exactly what they're praying about. And you can tell your parents, I know that word, or you know, it'll make you think about those words. So that is what, you know, with everything combined together, that prayer is coming out really strong. And I'm really proud of them because they've come a long ways. We've had students that would stand there and they told their mouth like this because they were scared and they were shy. They didn't want to make a mistake. But I always just told them, breathe, you know, take a deep breath, let it go, and now start your prayer. And I always say, Nitukskai natuka nyukskai, and I say kako. And they wait for that. They wait for that signal, and I just look at them and nod at them, and they all start. I would someday like for all of you to hear them, because for me, that's a proud moment when your kids can learn that prayer and start understanding what they're praying about. And there's so many other things that I can say about this. And, you know, Akumimstan, when we talked about Akumimstan, we made Mother's Day cards for our mothers on Mother's Day. And we made these cards, and I told the students, write everything in Blackfoot. And they did, and they brought those home to their mothers. Recently, they brought them home to their fathers and grandfathers. Some of them said, I don't have a mom. And they said, I don't have a dad. And I said, you know what? There's always somebody special in your life that you can give that to. And I said, that's part of our tradition. Our circle is never broken. We always have somebody that we always look up to. And those are some of the lessons, some of the values, and some of the lessons that we share with our kids. Again.
So just wanted to say, thank Lorraine for that information. And one of the things I will share with you, they do some written work, but when they're assessed in our classes, it's called a sits beside test. Every child has to come and sit beside their language teacher, and they're assessed that way because you're listening for sound. You're listening to see if the child is actually learning. It's time consuming. It might take them 2 or 3 days to go through the end of a unit, but we call it a sits beside test, and they're able to tell parents, grandparents, this is exactly where your child is with, you know, they might need to increase using this sound a little bit more. You could practice with them, but it's called a sit besides assessment. They have to do that and able for them, our language instructors, to hear sound. And that's the main thing with language is we want to learn sound. So we changed our assessment practice. We are going to go to Division 4 and Jocelyn Smith. I'll just give Jocelyn a little bit more kind of that segue between, because she's doing Blackfoot 10, 20, 30, she also looks after post-secondary, so she's trying to create that continuity out of the high school and going and moving into her post-secondary adult language classes. So, Jocelyn.
All right, thank you. Okay, so this is the this is for the Blackfoot 10, 20, and 30. And again, the same thing that the other ones have been talking about. In this curriculum for the senior high, we have 7 units. And so again, the same thing, it's really important for the students to understand the structure and the grammar of the language in every single one of our lessons throughout this system that we're creating. The sounds are really important, very, very important. So, and the understanding, helping the students to understand the way that the grammar is set up, because it is different from English. And then, so again, the same thing, our values, Niitsipowahsin. So every unit is a value. And so as we go from 10, 20, and 30, just the same as the other ones, the other speakers, the language becomes progressively more challenging, especially conceptually. The younger students will have less phrases, and the older students will have more, are expected to have more phrases and to have a better understanding of what they're saying. So, and again, the same thing, you know, we did all of 7 lessons. And again, traditional foods is very important to us. So those are some of the things that we also teach. And then we have an INI project, and maybe I'll just ask Lisa to speak a little bit about that when she comes up again. So one of the things that we are doing for our new curriculum is that number 1 is the prayer. Because not only do we, as Blackfoot people, that's one of our strongest, I guess, aspects of our life is the prayer. And so students really have to know how to pray, but also in the prayer, there's a lot of phrases and words that you can use every day. And we want the students to use those words. The other thing are the sounds and the grammar, and then the values. And I'll just say, working with post-secondary, we have Blackfoot 1000 and 2000. And sometimes those of you who have gone to university or who know students have gone to the university, sometimes when students come out of the university, out of Blackfoot 1000, we still don't know how to say the sounds. And so it's really important that students, all learners, know how to make the correct sounds, to have a good understanding of the grammar. And so what we're doing here is we're doing 2 different things. Number 1, all of this information that's in front of you, all of these units, we all work together as a group, and we've gone away from our offices sometimes 2 or 3 times a year, and this whole group plus elders, we all go and we work on these. And then when we come back to the school, this group, every Monday morning, we sit together and we create lessons for each of the instructors to take back to their classrooms. So there's 2 different things that are happening here, and they coincide with each other. One of the things that I want to say before I'm done is that in the SILDI program, the first class that we had of that, I believe it was in 2016, we had a number of elders take that program, and they all graduated from the SILDI program. And because it's important because we're an educational institute, it's important for the elders to have an understanding of how it is that we're putting the language together. So a number of our elders in our community also were graduates from the University of Alberta. They took the SILDI program as well. And so, you know, it's really important because I don't speak the language. On our nation, my cohort are we we're called silent speakers. We've heard the language, but we don't speak it. So it's really important that even though we don't speak the language, I can tell when somebody's not saying the words properly. And so it's really important to ensure that all learners create those sounds properly and know the grammar of the language. Thank you.
So we're just moving right along here because we want to make sure that somebody from Piikani wins that big TV sitting over there. So one of the things that we wanted to share with you, and this will be the last thing, is that we wanted you to see what one of our lessons looked like. So this is Division 3, Grade 7, Unit 8, Lesson 1. Agamominstan. As Jocelyn said, Jocelyn and I are not fluent speakers. I was laughing, I was telling them when we were getting ready to present, I said, yeah, I'm going to go up and I'm going to tell them na Niitsipowahsin because I don't speak. So for me, it is about learning, and I learn from the elders. Like we're doing this next week. We're in with about 10 elders next week, along with this working group, and we sit there 8 to 4 every day. And I feel sorry for our elders because really sometimes we overuse them, and we really need to appreciate the times when they do come to us. Some of the elders that she talked about that have their CILD certificates are starting to get to the point where they don't have the stamina to sit with us. So we're looking for young elders. I'll say Joanne and Billy are graduates out of the CILD program and went into ATEP with the teacher education program. Lorraine is in the program right now. Both Jocelyn and I have taken the program, plus some U of L courses. So we're trying to really build that program in our organization. So we're very much vested in it. So when we look at it, I want to, the theme title is Love and Self-Love. So the theme and the explanation, we do this together. We sit here and we build this lesson. And so the theme and the explanation is to love myself, my personal attributes, and my characteristics. The dictionary definition, if you go to Webster, will say to feel deep affection for something, someone. But we go to our elders, because they asked us to, and said, we need to tell you what we think that word means. This is our definition of that. So to love my attributes and have a positive body image, to love my capabilities, dance, sports, cooking, art, to love my participation in cultural and ceremonial activities, to love that I can learn, understand, and be knowledgeable. This is what love to our elders means. So it's much more broader than the English word that has 4 letters. It's much greater. So again, we start with what would our younger children know? Almost always, what we're expecting is in 2 or 3 weeks, those 4, 5, 6, 7-year-olds will be master speakers of those top 3. They will know those, they should know them forever. That's how we're creating master speakers. The second ones are really junior high. We want junior high students to be able to go and say those phrases plus the 3 that they've learned. So we're just building every time they come through and they're upping a level. So they are starting to build. And as Robert was saying, once you kind of get some of those, I'll say the root word or the root of the phrase down, you could really start looking at building upon and interchanging words. This is really where we go into that grade high school, maybe grade 9, 10, 10, 20, 30, so that they're learning it. But our expectation when we assess them is for mastery. We want them to master. So in all, when we look at all the other, say 27 values, by the time they finish high school and they're learning about 10 phrases per unit, they should have mastered at least 270 phrases. So which is, when we looked at it, and I think Ayana, Diana Twig that spoke first, she really was the one that said, hey, you need to be putting in about 1,000 hours. So when we're looking at 1,000 hours between all of our students, we're never going to get there in a K-12 system, but we can give the students a real leg up, something to be, you know, firmly stand on when they're in the schools that can push them a little bit further out, past that into becoming post-secondary students. The last thing I'll say is that one of the things that, you know, we've been questioned about this is following the program, Alberta Education Program of Studies. We've come back to say we are sovereign. We have every right as First Nations people in Canada to say what we're going to do with our language. Alberta Education, our government of Canada, shouldn't be dictating to us how we teach. That's our right. We should be saying, this is how we're going to do it. And so we've come back at them saying, this looks nothing like the program of studies. Yes, we've used Don France's orthography. We've used his writing system because we haven't come up with anything better yet. That's not to say that there's somebody out there that's working on an orthography that's going to be the best thing that ever happens to Niitsipowahsin. But we haven't got there yet. Hopefully somebody's out there working on it. But we're saying this is our right to teach language however we want to. This is what fits. This is what our elders told us to do. And so that's where we've gone with this. You know, we're at the end of our first year. It's taken us a long time to kind of get past that Alberta education piece and to go and say, we're going to do what we need to do to really follow what our elders have asked us to do. So in finishing off, I just want to thank my language working group. I just think they're, you know, an amazing group of people to work with. I think some of the best things that have come out of it is that they're team teaching. Joanne and Aileen and Billy team teach. They're in the same classrooms together. Lorraine and Jacqueline team teach. That means our students hear the language all the time going back and forth between two speakers and about anything that's being discussed in the classrooms. So I really like that. There's some things that we've done very well, some things that we still need to improve upon, but it just gives you a quick glimpse about what we're doing at Pegian Board of Education, both in our K-12 and our post-secondary. So again, thank you to all the other language workers that are up here with me, and thank you very much.